to have time to talk afterwards because.
All right, it is 11:49, so just 30 minutes? That'd be perfect? All right.
Yeah, you can have until 12:30.
All right, we're going to talk about sphere of influence. I kind of thought about it doing a part one, part two, but the really objective is I have certain information I think all agents will benefit from. And I'm going to make it collaborative. We have a small enough group here. We can all kind of chat and talk about it. The reason why it's important for me and why sphere of influence is so important for me, it's darn near my entire business. I mean, I was fortunate to grow in a position in building real estate without having to rely on real estate as my full-time job for years ago. So I never set up kind of a system of working cold leads and trying to do listing presentations and buyer presentations. I've just kind of did it with people that knew me and said, hey, my friend's looking, and it was real small to start. My first few years, I was probably selling 3 or 4 houses a year, and that was back in like 06, 07. It was a long time ago. That's where I got started. But over time, I built this kind of enormous database of people that I've closed over time. So about a year ago, I saw the market trending in the wrong direction. We weren't making as much money. There weren't as many transactions. So I said, I've got an untapped source of opportunity with my own sphere of influence that I can consistently stay in front of. So it's one thing to close nothing but sphere of influence, but it's another to stay in front of them in a way that, creates that positive energy, and we're not, in their face about it, right? So I started looking at systems and things in place to be able to do that. And I'm going to kind of walk us through how I came up with a lot of the systems and things. And then we're going to talk about how to build your own system, right? So that's really kind of what I cover. And in this year alone, I was looking at it. At this point, 4 months into this year, I'm at 25 transactions closed at $7.5 million. And 22 out of the 25 are sphere of influence, okay? The relationships that I knew prior to closing that transaction, or they were referred to me from someone that knew me. So that's why I feel like, a cold lead. Like that listing I posted earlier, that was a sign call. So I went out to their house and met with them, and I gave them a real estate plan because I knew that they would be stressed about everything. And I gave them a very comfortable real estate plan. I said, I'm only going to give you decision-making opportunities, and I'm going to take all the other stress out of your hands. And they said, great, let's sell. I was like, okay, let's go. So that's how I did that one. That would be an example of one that I didn't know them. It was a cold call, and I just went out and did it because I felt pretty strong that I was going to get that one.
That's the reason we all need signs in the yard.
I wasn't as big of a fan of signs, but lately it's been pretty hot. I'm not going to lie. The house behind them, Nick put his sign in the yard, and I listed it. Nick owns it, but long story. But he's an agent for me, and I sold the house for him, just because things I do sometimes. But he got like 3 or 4 calls right off of it. And he was like, I don't know what to do with them. I said, well, give them to me and I'll work them, and if they're good referrals, I'll find an agent to work them, right? That's usually what I ended up doing. But we got multiple offers in this house and sold it pretty quick. Signs are a big, hot commodity right now. I'm telling you, I've done them for years off and on. And, sellers would be upset if I didn't have a sign in the yard. So I started trying to make that a point, and I've gotten sign calls that turned into opportunities. This is a perfect example, right?
Seems like it's a great branding and a brand recognition opportunity. I love seeing EXP signs in yards. Like there's one in my mom's neighborhood right now, and I got really excited when I drove by it. But just for everyone to see EXP is good for all of us, right?
I'll give you an example. This house, we got 36 showings on the first week. Then, last weekend, I got 2 sign calls. So all the agents that had buyers in the price range got their people in there. And then the people that didn't have agents with a search set up for them, they called. So I picked up 2 potential seller buyers. And now they're starting to write offers. The ones I've been nurturing, the agents I've been nurturing.
Sure, staying in front of them.
2 weeks. Now sending offers.
Yeah, it's a whole nother conversation. I'm incredibly heavy on follow-up. I follow up until you tap out, including buyer agents that have interested buyers. I'm going to keep calling until we work out a deal or they're not interested. We're going to get somewhere. That's something, huh? Or they call Trek on me. No, that's not happening. It's funny, I had one right now. Like I gave them an offer, cash offer, and it gave us a counter initially, and then we agreed to everything. And then he couldn't convince the seller to move forward. I said, what are you convincing? We're doing their offer. And I said, man, at some point, they just said they pass. I'm like, where's my counter? Like, let's have a negotiation. It drives me crazy. Like, they don't teach negotiation. Like, we got to move both parties a step closer. Let's keep moving. So he lost the opportunity. It was a $760,000 house. All right. I'm going to kind of talk from the high level to try to get us kind of moving forward. So I think the number one, I want to do three things talking today. I want to look at building a primary sphere of influence of 100 people. And we're going to learn what primary means in sphere of influence. Right? Sphere of influence has several components, but we're going to learn what primary is. And then we're going to set up how to put them in your database and consistently build something you can stay in front of. And then I'm going to give you a touch system example of what that looks like. I'm going to give an example of what I'm doing. And then from there, obviously, you can build what's in your comfort area. So I read a book, and I'm not going to give the author and all this stuff because it's going to take too long. But the base thing that I looked for, it was real estate and sphere of influence. I was looking for someone that could really identify and present that to me. And I do Audible, so I listen to books all the time when I'm like working out. And his fundamental thing he came down to was if you can touch them in your primary sphere of influence 40 times a year, you will generate 7 people, right? You'll get an additional closing every 7 people, okay? 40 touches. We're going to talk about what touches mean, okay? But every 7 people, that's 1 closing, okay? So that's, if you do the math, it's pretty realistic. Yeah. So if that's the case, if I did 100 people, how many extra closings would that be? 7. So 7 closings for every 100. If it's 1 per 7, it'd be just like you said. So that's why we want to get at least 100. Any of you could benefit from 7 extra sphere of influence closings a year? I think most of us in here will probably benefit from that, right? There's not a lot of convincing needed. They like to work with people they trust, like, and respect. So what's the sphere of influence to you? Let me have some examples. What does it mean to you? What is the sphere of influence?
People that know, love, and trust.
That's a good one.
It could be past clients. It could be
It could.
people that will be future clients.
Okay. Where would you find them from? I mean, certainly past clients is a good place to start. We want to stay in front of them, but what about like groups and things that you're in? Right?
Like Johnny, for instance, is in the golfing group.
But I didn't put them into my sphere until I had a relationship with them.
So there's some determining factor that moves them to primary.
Right.
Okay? Because we don't want to.
Primary is have a relationship where I can call them and they wouldn't say, why are you calling? Or are you calling about real estate? They think I would normally call them for any reason. Because we're
What's the
friends.
tea time?
Yeah, what's the tea time? You want to go home? You want to go to lunch? You want to get they wouldn't think that's weird. That's how like if I had called someone that I knew 10 years ago because
Sure.
our kids played the Caraway.
And all of a sudden, yeah.
Jenny Caraway and all of a sudden call her.
Hey, let's do lunch.
That'd be weird.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just people that I'm in a current relationship with that I would go hang out with and they wouldn't think, why is she calling?
I do want to cover some examples of what it doesn't include. I want to cover that in a little bit too. I think that's kind of interesting. Things that we would think, well, I have an email for them and a phone number, and a name, that should be good enough. Let's throw them in our database. No, that probably isn't going to be the right kind of experience. We prefer to do business with referrals, right? Or some type of referral. Like, hey, I need a painter. Close friends said, hey, they just painted my house. You see what they did? Great, I'll call them. And you're probably going to hire them, right? We like to do things on referral basis. So that's our strongest indicator of why the sphere of influence is so powerful. You can tell the success of a real estate agent by the size and quality of their database. Okay, and this is relevant. I think like right now, I didn't even look at it, but I started going through it. I have probably about 20 active buyers and sellers that are not even I'm working yet, but they are ready to, like if I found the right home, they would buy. Or if I found the right home, they would also sell. And I have at least 20 right now. I didn't a year ago before I started building my sphere of influence. So I know that it is effective and it does work for me. It's the cheapest way to work a lead, right? I mean, we're saying you got to do a Starbucks card to someone for thinking of you, or you might give them something more. I mean, it's up to how you want to do it. So let's see, where do I talk about what it's not? All right, let's talk briefly about that. What does it not include? So you mentioned in golf, you might have 30 people in your group, but you only got about 5 or 6 that are close enough you would do lunch with. But the other ones, they know you, but they wouldn't expect to engage anything beyond that. One of the things I thought would be a great source for sphere of influence would be your kids' softball and baseball and soccer, to an extent that you have a relationship. It's the same type of thing. Like, we're not going to take the email list from our soccer club and then blast them all and say, hey, I'm going to be your agent, right? That would probably be beyond going over the bounds. It's like, you ever get on those neighborhood things and people are just blasting, hey, I'm in real estate, call me. It's those kind of irritating things. Like, that's not how we build relationships.
Like kind of having the agents respond when people say, thinking of moving. Just go through it. All the agents that
It does too. Yeah, on Facebook or, oh yeah, hey, call this guy. Everybody, yeah. How about every friend you're connected with on Facebook you went to school with? Probably not going to be your primary. A lot of you probably have several hundred Facebook friends, and probably 90% of them you wouldn't just call and go to lunch with, but you don't mind getting to know what they're doing in their life. Not a big deal. You can, if you stay consistent and effective in Facebook. Sure. Enough comments back and forth, and you can see that there's sincerity in there and it's organic. People you connect with on LinkedIn, probably not ideal. LinkedIn's really business to business, I think. So I see agents posting like new listings or come to my open house in LinkedIn. Like, that's not really where I think LinkedIn's going to give you strength. I look at it as an agent to agent type of opportunity. So I do a lot more coaching posting than I do, here's my new listing. So just another thing. LinkedIn is not really going to be a good place for building your primary. So our goal here is we want to get to capping, right? We want to go from capping to icon, and then we want to go from icon to referral business only, is my thinking. I would assume most of you aren't wanting to call cold calls and that type of business. And some of you may do it forever. I know, we're on this Freedom Team call on every Tuesday morning, and these guys, some of them are selling, 30, 40 million a year, no problem. And they are still doing cold call campaigns, which shocks me. I think it's expensive. You've got to do 100 of them to even get a relationship. I don't know. It's not my model, and I don't understand the allure. I think you can, if you just focus on your sphere of influence the right way, I think you could build enough referrals. You don't have to pay for the referral, pay for those cold leads, and then work with people you don't know. You have to sell them. I'd rather not be having to sell them. So why do we want to have a referral only business? Because we get to choose our own clients. That's a nice thing. We work when we want to work. I know for me, I've kind of established that. I don't like to work weekends and evenings. I have a 3, 5, and 9-year-old, and I commit everything I can to them on weekends and evenings. And we are in a real estate business, and I know it's hard because that's when people want to go look at houses. And usually those type of non-transactional things happen, but this the relationship and showing houses. I've been fortunate. I rarely ever have to do weekends and evenings, and I would just get partners. That's why I talked about last week having team with someone you can count on as a partner. Maybe one of them is more flexible and they do all the showings, and the other one does all the negotiations. I mean, there's ways to kind of make it effective where you can manage your schedule and it doesn't own you 24/7. 0 lead generation costs. I spend very, very little managing this thing. Very little. I haven't really thought. I think I pay for some apps and things that does management for me, but I pay very, very little to do this. All right. So What is a primary? What I mean by primary, what I did is I went through my phone and I came up with 4 categories. Primary, secondary, agent, because I think attraction should be all in our wheelhouse somewhere. At least you can connect with other agents that are non-EXP. And then the 4th I use is other. That's how I categorize every contact in my phone. And other is someone that I need to have a necessary relationship with that's probably not going to be referring me business because our relationship's not based that way. It could be some of the attorneys I call. Probably not going to include them on my primary list. I need them for specific work-related things. Or my bug guy that comes and sprays my house, right? I mean, I could move him into primary, but I really just want him to take care of my mosquitoes or my landscaping or whatever, those type of things. So I don't move them into primary, I put them in other, but I need their phone number, so I keep them in my phone. So primary, what I mean, means you know them and they know you by first name. That's a good place to start, okay? Sometimes it's not enough. Like I know people on my golf thing, my first name, they know me by first name. Still not quite comfortable enough, but that's a good place to start, especially someone you've known for more than a couple of years. There's some relationship there, okay? That's what the author used to determine what is primary. And primary is the one we're going to focus to get to 100 in our sphere of influence on staying in front of, okay? That's our goal. Anyone have a problem with primary, how we come up with that? You know them by first name, they know you by first name. Okay. In your immediate sphere, your family and stuff, they're not going to send you deals. You got to get over it. Someone said that the other day. You can't get rich off your family. Just get over it. Like you're just not. It is, you know, or even your closest friends. It's very frustrating. I know, we've all been there. You know, they know I'm a genius at this and they still don't call me. I've had that happen a number of times. Like my wife's sister and brother, they've done like 5 houses and not one have they called me on. Now they've had different circumstances. Some of them, you know, they like work directly with the builder. I mean, they've done some things on their own, and I don't even know what they're doing because they don't tell us about any of these things. But they always end up, I wouldn't say getting screwed, but they don't get the best benefit. And I can see all the gaps because I do this for a living. And so they'll call me when it comes to tax time, like, hey, can you help us fight our taxes? And so I'll fight their taxes for them and help them, get it drastic reductions. But it's family, right? They're still not going to call you to help. So I just wanted to point that out. They can go in your sphere of influence. They can be a primary because they may refer you to someone else. But they're probably not going to call you when they need something, unfortunately. So the most important thing you can collect on your sphere is the email address. Okay? And I listened to another podcast. It's a guy that was doing trainable YouTube videos. He wanted to create content. He says, you're an expert in something, you can monetize it and create an opportunity for everybody else to learn about it. And he taught about building a YouTube sphere of influence system. But one of the things he said is make sure you keep that email address system because these online free use YouTubes and Facebooks and TikToks and all of that, if they change one thing in their policy and they cut you off, you lose it all. Email addresses allows you to stay in business. And that's what you can use to stay in front of people, probably more effective than anything else. The text gets a little personal and gets touchy. People don't want to get a text from you every week about real estate, right? I mean, I think that would probably turn them off. But emails is kind of just enough. And if they have sincere interest, they're going to read it, Absolutely. Everything you do in a touch should be a value proposition, not give me your business. It's never about give me work. It's about giving them and delivering them a value proposition or education. I mean, I can go through my posts. Like this is my YouTube channel. We'll get to it in a minute, but every one of these is education back to my end person. And it's for agents too. I use it for everything. But we'll come back to that and what I do with my stuff. This is mine. You can do your own, but I'm giving you examples of what I've done that's within wheelhouse that I'm comfortable with. I think some of you, and you guys know I'm not the most personable. I might be okay one-on-one, but I'm not the most personable, and I'm not very thoughtful. In fact, I'm terribly not thoughtful. I'm not very thoughtful as a person. but sometimes I grow on people.
Like a mole.
Yeah.
I was supposed to say, like a wart.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a mold. No, I have thick skin, shockingly, but I have thick skin. But I know for some of you, it could be about making the pies. It could be about family day, right? Dog at the dog park day, or bringing out vendors. That kind of stuff is not my comfort zone. And plus, a lot of you are trying to isolate and localize. I haven't. I mean, I'm all over Dallas-Fort Worth. I've flipped over 100 homes, and I've done it everywhere in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that creates a very large market. So I can't really localize and do events like that as effective as some of you, because you've really focused on a certain area.
Say too that you cater to a certain type of client.
Me?
Your personality type.
Oh,
You found a niche that works.
100%. Yeah, investors.
Right.
There's not any emotion with a lot of that. Yeah, don't care. And I like it. They'll call me. I'm telling you, I've sold probably 20 houses plus, never seeing the house, never talking to the investor, all through text.
So it doesn't really matter necessarily soft skills and what have you. You find your niche. Then
Yeah, this is mainly for my retail audience to educate them, right? That's the emotional, or they don't know anything about real estate. And I want to provide that value add to them consistently. My investors, they may read some of this, but that's not really why they call me. And I don't have to convince them or convert them. They call me with all kinds of real estate stuff because I solve real estate problems. It's probably my greatest strength that's hard to explain until you start solving some real estate problems. And then they'll call me, and they keep calling me because of that. So we talked about email address is the most important thing. So the way I started all of this is I got into my phone. I had 4,000 contacts, and then I got a program called Contact Plus. Okay? Contact Plus is not expensive. It can register with your Apple or your Google phone, and it allows you to manage your entire database that way. Now, you can get an Apple, and you can go to your Apple laptop, or I guess even regular Windows laptop, and you can access your contacts if you log into the system, but its management is not very effective and easy. Using Contact Plus allows me to do two things. It allows me to manage my contacts easier, and it allows me to convert it and transfer it anywhere I want to, and it has a live feed. If I change a number on my phone, it changes it in Contact Plus. And then Contact Plus will feed it wherever I want it to feed it to, any database. So, I use Keeping Current Matters is one of the tools I use to stay in front of my database. It can communicate with it and give it updated email addresses when I change it. That's the reason why I use that. And so here's the next tip. So in your Apple phone, and I don't know about Google, but in Apple, you can I created lists. Okay, that's how I differentiate between any of the people in my contacts. Okay, so there's a way, by default, lists is not on there. Who's got an Apple? Okay, go to your contacts in your Apple. Oh, my phone's right there, it's okay. Go to contacts in Apple, and then pick a contact, and then go down to the bottom. Pick any contact, go down to the bottom. And if it doesn't have lists in there, which it may not, by default it does not. It does not have lists in there. And it doesn't have any lists created. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create it. Do you have lists in yours, Dave? Or anyone? You probably don't. Okay, go back to contacts, the main contact page, and then there's a button. Yes, there you go. Hit that button. Yes. So there's lists there. Now you can create lists. So I created 4: primary, secondary, other, and agent. So if you go back to contacts, the main page, on the top left corner is lists. You see it? And now you can create lists that you can now assign everybody to a category. And what that does is it now allows me to, anytime I have ongoing marketing campaign information, it just connects with that particular list that fits there. Okay?
So how do you create this?
Go to the top left, create list, and said add a list or add a, there you go. And then now once you do it, now go back to a contact, and at the very bottom, list shows up. So you could put primary. And now when you go back into that contact, go to the very bottom of the contact on the edit, it'll have list, and then you can add to the primary. Now it's very cumbersome to do it on your phone. That's why I said it's easier for you to do it like on a, on a computer or something, a lot easier. Okay. Now you can now subcategorize everybody in your contacts and you can manage them now.
And now we need a VA.
And now you need a VA. It took me 3 weeks, but this is also like, 15 plus years of contacts. And I had to qualify every single person. And then I started remembering people that aren't in there and I started including everybody. So I put everybody in there. It took me a long time, but it was worth it because I knew if I could consistently stay in front of my sphere of influence, my primary, that it will turn into what it's turned into today. This year, I think I'm still in the top 20 out of 9,500 agents at EXP in Texas in volume and sales transactions. And I'm doing it not by marketing, right? Just my sphere of influence.
So are you gonna touch on what you're doing to stay from
Yep. I'm gonna share everything I do. Now I can't share all of it because it takes too long, but because there's a lot of different steps. But the main thing I wanted to get was that, right? I wanted to make sure you understood how to, now you can identify your people and put them in. And then we're gonna set up, I think we're ready to talk about the touch plan, okay? So we want to touch them 40 times. It can be email, it can be a phone call, it can be twice a year market update, right? That'd be a really good one. Hey, just want to let you know, and you cover 6 months twice a year, you're going to cover their entire market over that period of time in their particular neighborhood. This is just a value add I do for, my clients or however you want to phrase it. Here's what it looks like in the last 6 months in your neighborhood. You don't worry about how I do things. I'm giving, some of these are tips and you have to learn. That's an idea I haven't even done yet. What I do is I do homestead exemptions. I teach everybody about that. What I do is I one and done kind of thing where I can create some type of content and I can share it with everyone. That's more of my cup of tea. It's not as personal. It's not the cupcake sale, right? And it's not, hey, here's your market. And I also don't have 5 neighborhoods that I work. I mean, it would take me, I don't even know how long to do every person in my database, a custom CMA for, oh my gosh, no way I would do it.
How are you tracking that?
Tracking which part?
Your 40 touches.
Oh, I systematize it. I have KCM once a month. Well, let's go through it. I'll systematize and I'll show you, okay? Because it is built. I'm just giving you, sometimes I'll give you examples, things that I'm not necessarily doing, but I know it's a good idea. And you may, if you had 30 people immediately, you could probably manually do that twice a year and it's worth your time.
Is KCM,
Keeping Current Matters.
yeah, is it a
Newsletter.
Blog.
Is it, yes, I'm familiar with KCM, but is it like an automatic thing you put them on?
Yeah.
It is?
Well, you can, but I build an email and I use KCM articles, including my own content as part of my monthly newsletter. So I add my own flavor into it.
I take an article from KCM and put it into AI and have it reword it in my tone and my personality, and then I can post it or email it out.
So you're getting even more personalized, and that's better. Mine's a little bit more canned because I've got just I have like 800 people in my primary. So I haven't made it as personalized, but personalized is always better.
So that would be good to do in a Facebook group too.
Yes,
You're doing your KCM video.
Oh, you mean the minute videos? Is that what you're talking about? That you can do shorts?
The videos that you can.
Oh, the ones already pre-made that I can add to it? I don't know, I have to ask Jenny.
I signed up for it, but I haven't done one yet.
Or you can go through your whole list, which would take you forever, which I probably only have 250 people in my primary. And according to their address, you can do a market update that gets automatically emailed to them once a month.
I feel like that's probably too much, but probably every 6 months, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't thought
you
more.
can adjust it.
I haven't
Not
done
every
that.
how many days. I think it only did
So here's the thing.
weekly.
The reason why I don't do CMAs is because I use HomeBot. We're going to talk about HomeBot. Okay, HomeBot is giving them really good information, well beyond a CMA. HomeBot is a home run, and I'm going to show you that as well. That's a really good touch system, and that's once a month, right? So I have newsletters once a month. I have HomeBot once a month, and when I sell them a home, I have EvaBot, and EvaBot allows me to send them a personalized gift when they close, and it also sends it either on their birthday or their anniversary of the close. So I have that ongoing as well. Okay. We're probably close enough to that point. I'll show you. Let's do HomeBot first. So here is HomeBot. So I've got 195 home sends, 156 open, and this is in 30 days. Okay. In 30 days, I've sent out 195 homes. But look at this open percentage, 80%.
That's awesome.
Is there any emails you can send out you expect if you send it to 800 people? Now it's only sending it out to almost 200.
80% is really good.
And then down from that is specific home views. They get more information. So on the home view page, it will tell you some really clever, looks like I've got 261 homeowners, but we only send 105 home sends. And I don't know exactly how it comes up with it, but I'll just pick one. I'll show you kind of what it'll share with them. Would be a good one. So Ada and Raphael, Ada is actually a teacher that teaches with my wife. That's how I met Ada. So they bought a new build in Hogan and Denton, South Denton. And that's our current value, which everybody can do that, right? Current value is only going to deliver so much additional value. That's what CMAs can kind of help you with. I feel like if we can deliver even better and more interesting information, then it adds another value. And what this does is it treats your home like an investment, not as just a place to live. And that's a big part of my own personal campaign. Like I almost, like Fred and I were talking, is like I should almost do a training on agents because they friggin' sell their houses. I'm like, you're in real estate. Hold real estate. Stop selling. I tell all my clients, stop selling your houses. And I say, man, I make more money if I sell your house, but you make more money if we can get you a rental and build some net worth. And that's how I build that investor database, because I know I'm trying to help them grow and build. And I have a gift. Like I make people money. I don't care if they're on the buy or the sell side. Make your clients money, and you'll keep them for life. Okay, that's them looking through that. Let me get this one house real quick. Preview digest. So this is actually looking at their house, and this is it. This is the home search. So I had 55 of them in a month look at their home. Okay. So coming down, it will show you, you can add money to pay off your mortgage faster. They always offer those type of things. Here's some options: 30-year, 15-year, 5-in-1 refis. And then down, this one may not give me. Some of them won't give you, but they have. So it has average monthly revenue. If you wanted to rent it out, but there it is. There's the nightly rate. How about that? People don't ever think about a VRBO. But what if you just stuck some furniture or left your furniture and you moved into another house and then started renting your house every night? Sometimes you can find some pockets that make a ton of money on it, and they're totally legal, and the HOA doesn't care, city doesn't care. So you could actually rent it out per day. That's looking at your property, huh? Yeah, there's some that don't. Well, it's that's more. It's short-term rentals are still good for South Lake for like emergencies or people that need, unless your house is too expensive. Oh. Well, I just said it because my wife's parents live in Highland Village, and the house right behind them got converted into a VRBO, and they were losing their mind. They're going to party there every night. I was like, dude, you don't live in a party neighborhood. They ain't people partying in this. They're not going to pay that much per night to come party when they're not even on the lake. And they never hear from the neighbors, but it's still, people don't want to necessarily rent next to short-term rentals. And I get why. So, and you can do estimations on number of nights versus nightly rates and kind of look at it. So this is a brand new build, and they think you could probably get roughly about $186 a night. That's a lot more than their mortgage. So they're looking at. What's that?
If you want to buy.
Oh, that's the other thing, right? So if I wanted to keep my property, so it didn't show that, but it gives you like 4 boxes, and one of them is sell your house to buy. It'll always give that. And then it has refi your house to buy, or take a HELOC to buy. I mean, it gives you some other ways to think about your equity in your home is an investment. Why not reinvest in real estate? And it starts having people think about real estate in those terms. Okay. So that's HomeBot. Any other questions on HomeBot? It's cheap. It's like $25 a month is all I pay for this. It's a lender-driven thing.
You can get it through Cherry Creek Mortgage, and it's free.
I'm thinking.
Like you can only do so many.
I'm being recorded. I got to be careful with what I say.
You can only send so many. You can only have so many clients in there, I think, for free.
EvaBot.
You do? Okay.
Oh, you can do all you want. It's just as it tiers up, it gets more expensive. You know, as you tier up, like my lender partner, he's over $200 a month on it. Yeah, but I've been with him for years. All right, EvaBot, you guys heard of this? I know I brought this one up before. This is another way I stay in front of people once a year, okay? And it's not expensive. You know, so what I'll do is like, so Carrie, I just closed, and it was actually her dad had a trust. She bought a house. So I made her my client because I know long-term she'll be the one I'll be working with. So Carrie closed on a house in Grapevine. They paid cash. And I set the budget, and then it sends them a text, and they pick out what they are interested in. It could be alcohol, coffee, animals, technology, all these different things, and the things that they're most excited about, chocolate. They select all the categories they're most excited about, or if they have allergies or whatever, and then it will customize popular gifts today that fit within the budget that I have, and it sends it to their house. So that's the way it communicates and delivers directly to them things that they would want. And they don't know what they're getting. So it's the surprise part. But they get things that are in there, you know, what they like.
So how does
And
that
it lets
work?
you know when
Yeah. And I just set the budget. And I also can set it up where I do this every year on, so this is order status. I mean, I've done a lot of them.
So how much are you spending on that per month right now?
I could give you an estimate. Let's see if it does give me a number. I would probably think, I do renewals at $30 a month for each person. Probably right now, I'm probably about $300 or $400 a month, something like that. That's in my database that I consistently continue to do, and new people. Yeah, so I probably spend $3,000 or $4,000 a year myself. But I mean, I'm closing over 100 transactions, so that I think that's reasonably.
So, and the reason I'm asking a question like that is because there's one called Sugar Wish, where they, you know, you send them a gift card and then they go in there and pick out something chocolatey or whatever. But and the Starbucks cards too. So tell me if it's like this, but they they don't they don't get it. I mean, it doesn't come to them. They have to go in there and choose it, and they just let it sit there.
You talking about the gifts?
Yeah.
Well, did you see the order status? It has in different phases. So it has, they've chose the link, they picked out what they like, we shipped it to them, and it gives me every step that they're in until it arrives, and it says it's been delivered.
They don't.
It has to, it's delivered right to their house. Oh, they pick out everything. Oh, you mean sometimes they won't even pick it out? All of mine pick out. I've had one out of like 100 that they didn't go in there and fill it out. I don't know why.
Pay for it, and they get the link.
Yeah, it doesn't charge it until they pick up, until the gift. Yeah, it doesn't charge till it gets delivered. Yeah, it doesn't charge till it's delivered.
or you need to up your budget.
Yeah, or up the budget.
If they're not picking out your gifts.
Well, I mean, it's more than $30. So,
Then maybe you ought to change the email.
you send them. It sends them an email or a text. I think it's a text. And just like Starbucks cards, you know, I send people Starbucks cards through a text, and they open them, but they don't go in and get the gift.
Sometimes it's,
I think they
Those
forget
are-
about it.
yeah. I used to get them as a teacher. I'd get a text and I, you know, be like, oh, because you have to do work to get it. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
For each individual.
You do it.
For a $5 AR.
That's a little bit more cold marketing to me. So I just don't do much of the cold marketing stuff.
No,
Here's what I send out for money.
I mean, you can make them personalized, right? We have recipes, and or even your keeping current matters. You can break it down into a little blog post that you might put one of the articles on. There's ways you can personalize it. Postcards are so expensive. Now, I know that Text Excel offers the Print Pro thing. It's really cheap to do that. When I did postcards before, I was spending like $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And I just never, it just kind of like, it was so expensive, and the return is so minimum. I was just like, man, I can't get into the postcard business. Good.
Yeah, those, like,
So this is your annual thing. We want to celebrate another year in your home. Congratulations. Reminding them the day they bought, right? Or just making that connection there. You know, and then you're asking for referrals and stuff like that.
and I follow up with a phone call.
And you follow up with a phone call.
And
Yeah.
that's when I ask them if they like home bodies. I haven't already got them. So
Yeah, you can add a value add in the conversation. Sure, offer something that helps them be aware of those services and stuff. So I did ask if you guys could bring in something like that. So thank you for bringing that. So I want examples of things you guys send out. You know what I want to do right now is I want to create a magnet that keeps me in. I know it just keeps me on the fridge, right? And I don't want to do the sports schedule. I feel like everyone kind of does that. The only good thing about sports schedules, you can keep sending it to them every year, right? Stay in front of them. So what do you think you could send a magnet that people would keep on their fridge besides emergency numbers? I get that too.
Calendar.
Like how many recipes? You can only have so much space.
It has 12, one for each month.
That fits on one magnet?
Yeah, it's just here, you tear it out.
Oh, paper. So it has the magnet with your card at the top and then has, okay, sure.
I've done that my whole career, so
Okay.
now they ask me.
Well, now they expect it, right? Where's our magnet this year? And that's where you know you're in the right track with your audience. I asked Jenny and Fred if they came up with ideas. Jenny had a good one. What did she say? I'll have to look it up. She had a really good one.
You know, you can just buy those little magnets from Amazon too, and all it does is just, you stick your card on it. So,
I know what she said. Annual maintenance for your house.
yes, those are good.
Things you should be doing each month. So annual maintenance items, because now it's relating to real estate. It relates back to you, and it's just a good reminder of things to be doing. So that was what she suggested. So I thought it was a pretty good idea. For someone like me that doesn't like people. No, I'm just kidding. I do like people. I do. Okay, let's talk about an example touch plan. Monthly newsletters. KCM. KCM is what I use. $50 a month, I think, is what it costs. I think that's pretty valuable for what it does. And I also combine it with Boom Town. Not BombBomb is the one they added to KV Core, right? So it's Boomtown. And Boomtown is really good for email marketing systems. And that's all I wanted to use my newsletter to be a part of. And I send out other video content, and it's good for video marketing on emails. Boomtown. And it's not very expensive.
So,
KCM for 79 months sends you videos and you can read them and record.
how long have you been paying for that and not used it?
Oh, probably a year now.
So they also have the minute videos that you can talk about popular real estate topics now, and they create it for you, and you can record it, and you can read it, and it's recording it, and it has clips and stuff like that. I did a bunch of them. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Reels?
You say under a minute, right? Let's see if this is an example. Do you know what your credit score is? If you're looking to buy, I'm reading. You want to find out because your score has an impact on your mortgage rate. And while you may have heard the average score for buyers is about 715, that doesn't mean that's what you have to have in order to qualify. If you're looking about ways to boost your number a bit, here's a few things to focus on. Your payment history. Late payments can drop your score. So focus on paying your bills on time can really help. Your debt amount. Basically, the less credit you're using, the better. Keep this number as low as possible. And credit applications. If you're going to buy a home, don't apply for additional credit. If you do, it can result in a hard inquiry, which will directly impact your score. If you need more information, feel free to reach out to me. I appreciate it. So I stayed under a minute. That's KCM. They got probably about 3 or 4 of them. Hey, Chris. They have about 3 or 4 of them. They put out every week. I mean, you can stay pretty busy on it, and you can continually post on Facebook and stay under a minute. You show up in a reel. Okay. So, and it's all predefined. It's simple. And they all have like images like that about halfway through. So it's all built into it, and it looks clean and polished. And it's funny if you type in, just don't use the exact same thing that they write the script for the title, because everyone uses those titles. And if you type it in, you can see everybody else doing the same script over and over again. It's kind of funny. But so I rewrite my titles to fit more of what I want to portray.
So where are you putting that on Facebook?
I did for a while before I started developing this own system. I'm giving you guys a lot of tips. So right now I'm not doing those minute videos right now either. I'm using where I've moved to. This is where I've moved to. This is why I've kind of changed a lot of this. So I created all those videos. I've done training and stuff like this. And some of this I'm not saying to be duplicatable. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. That wasn't that long ago. So when I graduated high school, no, I'm kidding. It's so funny. Yeah, they always say that, right? I still kind of look like that. Come on now.
Y'all out there and welcome in.
We just roasted him for his pictures.
Yeah, we're making fun of Sean.
So I took all the videos and stuff, and I used AI, and I hired the guy that came in, Ben Gold. Do you remember him? He did AI. So I've been working with him, and he took a lot of my own content, like you were talking about writing in your voice, and then he created from the videos script that we could post in Facebook and LinkedIn because they're different audiences. And then Jenny created that little picture using AI. So all these little pictures over here, they're all generated by AI. That one's not, because that's your mastermind. And then that one's obviously not. But the ones that look a little bit more commercial or cartoony, those are created in AI. And then she posts that as a screenshot. And then in the comments, let's go down and see here's an example. So this one here, she created this one, content, all things that I've done. And then the actual video link where it was created originally. So they can actually revert back to my link. You just can't put the YouTube link in the post. You got to put it as a comment. You guys know that, right? Because they'll throttle you and you won't get any exposure. So anyway, that's where I've kind of moved to. That's exactly right. So I'm sharing all that because that's twice a week you get that posted. I've got another 2 months of content, and then Ben will review all the new content I've created and then do it again. So that's really where I've moved to on posting and stuff. But anybody can pick up KCM and do those 1-minute videos. Very easy, good, relevant content, and it's duplicatable. It's very easy to do. So I wanted to kind of share that that's a really easy option for you guys.
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
Let's let Darren talk.
Sure.
Not let the food get cold, and then we can come back and we want to hear everything